Well, welcome everybody tonight. It's good to see a room that's just about full and you're interested in just this great municipal process. I thought I'd just explain very quickly. You're going to notice there's something very unusual. This is probably the first all candidates meeting you've ever been to where suddenly we've got one candidate on a monitor. Like, isn't that something? I sort of think that's one of the silver linings we've learned from COVID is how to communicate in a lot of different ways. And so, as it turns out, we have two candidates running in Ward 5. We've got Michael Mascolo and Becky Schaefer. We also, and in Ward 1, we have Nick Soretis, Jordan Cescolini, and Rob Payne. Now, you're going to notice, this is Rob Payne, okay? So you understand. Rob phoned me 2 days ago as a candidate to tell me, he said, I've just tested positive for COVID. And is there any way to connect with the meeting? And fortunately, Jeff, who does the IT work, was able to do that. And so, Rob, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
Jordan, we are disappointed that he's not here tonight. We sent an invitation to all candidates 5 weeks ahead of time of tonight's meeting, just about 5 weeks ago, because we knew schedules fill up. And anyway, unfortunately for us all, that Jordan indicated to me, I guess in the middle of September, he'd be unable to come tonight. So you'll have to follow up on that with him, okay? Just to learn more about his platform and things like that. Now, let me just go on with a couple of just brief housekeeping things. First of all, again, welcome to everybody. I'll just quickly say, I know we have 2 or 3 counselors who are here tonight, and thank you for your ongoing interest, Amy Eek, Ward 6. Jacob Snyder, Ward 3. Just feel free to put your hand up, okay, if I am. And then we have 2 or 3 candidates who were at last night's meeting who were here too. So that's great to have their interest. Anyway, I'm Bruce Craig. I'm chair for CCKT and just part of a team that puts this together. And it's great to have a team. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If you have a phone with a ringer sound on it, you could turn that off during the meeting. That would be great. If you're taking any type of photographs, ask that there be no flash, and that's for the sake of the candidates so that they're not distracted at all. In terms of protocols related to health and so on, completely up to you whether you'd like to wear a mask or not. Let's just be respectful of one another. I think it's very important. And I think that's about everything I need to say, except I'm going to introduce to you our moderator for tonight. Moderator is, I'm standing right in front of me. Over here, this is better. Greg Block, who, sorry, Rob. We've all got some learning to do, don't we?
You're doing well.
Anyway, Greg was a very active member of CCKT several years ago, and I got to know Greg at the time, and he believes so strongly in the process we're going through with elections, you know, and informing you as the elector. And Greg was really glad when we sent an invitation that he'd come. He's not living in Prince Edward County, and he's come from there to be moderator for tonight. So I hope you just welcome him, and I'm going to, give it over to Greg at this point.
Okay, hi everybody. Nice to be back here again. I was chair of CCKT for a few years, and I'm in Prince Edward County now. But I want to tell you something. They've got 14 councillors down there and a mayor. Okay, think about that. It's a bit of an interesting, what do they call it, bucket of fish. We've got a lot to do there. So it's interesting getting decisions made, as I've observed. And I've been assisting one candidate who's never run before, and very qualified, very financially literate woman, and I'm really pulling for her. But she, it's one of those things where how do you get signs? How do you go door to door? And I'm taking her door to door, and I'm teaching her how to knock on doors and open conversations with people and get her elevator pitch down. So it's nice to kind of be back into that again. And that's why when I had an opportunity to come and do this. And I just jumped at it because I could never do it before, because I was chair of CCKT, or I was a candidate myself, because I ran twice for local council, and I just couldn't do it. So it's really nice that I could do it, and for me, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time last night, and I'm sure I'm gonna have a good time tonight. But I'm not gonna talk about me anymore. I wanna get into the meat here. I very briefly just wanna tell you how this is gonna work and what the rules are, okay? So we've got 4 people in the room. I'm going to give each of them 3 minutes to do an introduction. That's a little bit longer than last night because we don't have as many candidates here. So you get 3 minutes to do an introduction. I'm simply going to go in order of alphabetical. So we're going to start with Rob. We're going to work down the line here. Simple as that. As we're answering questions, I will go in a different order. I'll make it a bit more random so that the same person isn't answering first or last at the time. So we're going to shake it up. For the questions, we have we'll get through 3, maybe 4 questions that CCKT has developed that we know are very relevant to our membership. Each candidate will get 1.5 minutes to answer each question, and the bell will go off 15 seconds before the end of each timed period, and they know that when they hear that, they've got to, exactly, it's going to drive you crazy after a while, but it's important. And then when you hear the second bell, finish your sentence, but wrap it up, because we really just want to move on to the next question, because we'll get through more of it. The big thing is we want to get through those to open it up to the audience, because that's where you can be, you can come up and ask questions yourself. And I would definitely be thinking about those questions and have them ready, and feel free to just get in line. Often there is a bit of a line for people waiting to ask, and that's okay, and we'll get to you, okay? And if we get to the point where we know we're at the end of our time, we'll indicate, okay, you know what, I think that's it. Maybe you want to just save your questions for the meet and greet afterwards and ask people in person what you think about your own issues, okay? There's going to be a new little trick here. We've got these yes/no questions. I'm going to be interspersing these very simple questions with a very simple answer in between our major questions. And we've given the candidates a yes/no sign to put up and very clearly indicate how they feel on a particular issue. A fairly succinct answer, and we went well last night. We found that the audience really found that valuable, so we're going to do that again. Once about 8:30, we're going to wrap it up, and each candidate's going to get 2 minutes to do closing remarks, okay? And then Bruce will wrap up, and then it's meet and greet, and you can talk to the candidates until about 9 o'clock, I think, okay? So I'm gonna, with no further ado, I'm gonna get going here. So we're gonna start with the candidate introductions. We're gonna start with Rob Payne. Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good stuff. So you go first. You've got 3 minutes, and hopefully if you don't hear the bell, if you keep on talking, I'll interject.
Perfect.
Okay. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, since May when our campaign started, I've listened to understand what's important to you. Engaged you personally at your front door, by telephone, on social media, and through the local newspaper. And you told me the following. You're concerned about the escalating costs of the new township-wide recreational center. As you may know, unfortunately, the original budget was $52.9 million and is now $86 million. An increase of $33 million. The dramatic increase in stolen vehicle thefts in King City and implementation of crime prevention through environmental design strategies to reduce criminal behavior in cooperation with York Regional Police. The excessive noise, vibrations, and dust of new construction in our established neighborhoods on evenings, weekends, and even on statutory holidays. Protecting our trees on private property and growing King's tree canopy. And finally, expanding broadband to our rural areas, just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for change. It's time for leadership with integrity, someone you can trust. A leader who is accountable, fiscally responsible, responsive, and has a vision and a plan. A leader who supports controlled and environmentally sustainable development that meets the needs of today's community without compromising future generations and our natural resources. Supports King's declaration of a climate emergency. And finally, a counselor who can inspire our community and protect and preserve the way of life we'll enjoy and cherish in the King. Thank you.
So, Nick Soritas.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Soritas, and I'm running for Ward 1 Councilor. I moved to King City just over 5 years ago because I had friends and family that lived in King, and I enjoyed the area when I came up, and it looked like a beautiful place to live, very rural area. There wasn't a lot of traffic. However, since the last election, I've noticed a lot of changes which I don't particularly like, and that's why I'm running. One of them is the traffic congestion. I think that's going to be the biggest problem going forward for everybody living in the King City area. The traffic congestion lowers all our quality of life, and that's the most important thing any of us can ask for, is to have better quality of life. So if everyone's quality of life is decreasing because they have to spend more time in traffic, they get more angry, they do rash things. You can see in general in society, crime rates are going up because people are more unhappy. In our neighborhood, we have a rash of break-in and thefts. There's a car stolen off somebody's driveway almost every month in our neighborhood. It's unacceptable. People shouldn't have to go to bed at night worrying if their car's going to be there in the morning. That's why one of the initiatives that I'm looking for is to work with the police and have a reputable security company put up cameras on some lampposts run by the city, and then we can have the streets live monitored between 2 to 6 a.m. when most of these thefts are happening. That's one of the initiatives. For all of those in the room, I have some flyers in the back with all my platforms that I encourage you to take one at the end of the evening. The other issues that we think to bring besides the congestion is my qualifications, why I'm coming. So, for those of you that don't know, I run a plastics manufacturing company. I'm part owner. It's a medium-sized business. It does pretty well. And you may ask, Nick, you're busy running a company. How do you have time to run for councillor? Well, the good thing is that the business is well established, so I don't have to be there full time. I have partners, they can take care of it, and I can take time away from that to run for councillor and help the citizens of King. So with that, I bring the business acumen to the city. We all know that the new rec centers went way over budget. And we also have to look at the building costs versus the operational costs. I don't think the city's going to be that well versed in the operational costs. Everything always goes over budget. So at least with my business acumen, running a manufacturing business with where costs are very important. It's very low-end manufacturing. So we look to save wherever we can. And that's one of the abilities that I would bring to council, is find where can we save money as a town. So the one thing I don't want to see also is them to start selling public land to pay for all these run over costs. They're going to have to decommission the hockey arena when the new ones are being built. What are they going to do with that? Are they going to repurpose it to more recreational centers? Or are they going to sell it to developers for more development, further lowering their quality of life? Thank you very much.
Michael DiMascolo.
Well, good evening. There we go. Good evening, and thank you to CCKT for organizing this event. And thank you to all of you for taking the time out to join us here tonight and hear us out. I'd like to take this opportunity just to introduce myself so that you can know who I am, a little bit of my history, and what I stand for. So, my name is Michael DiMascolo, and I'm your candidate for Ward 5 Councillor, and I've called King Township home for over 8 years. I'm a husband to the most amazing wife, Martha, who's joining me here tonight. Together, we've been blessed with 2 daughters who attend grade 3 behind me and grade 9 in front of me. And I'm happy to see that the school board trustee is here tonight, and thank you for coming on as well. So it's families like mine that are at the root and the fire that motivate me to step forward and to be of service to all who call King Township home. I'm a licensed professional engineer with a master's degree in mechanical and industrial engineering through the University of Toronto. I've worked 13 years in Ontario's prestigious manufacturing industries, including automotive and other manufacturing. I spent 13 years there, and then I decided to venture off on my own. The last 10 years, I've started my own business, and I'm a design and construction consultant for residential projects. And I've started that from the ground up. So on top of that, I've also done a lot of personal growth, and I'm a certified life coach. And I use that knowledge to help others to live the lives of their dreams. In short, I have the knowledge, I have the experience, and I have the horsepower for the job at hand. However, leadership to me is not just about what you know or who you know. Those things are important, but a well-rounded leader is someone who will not be passive, who will not stand aside and ignore the difficult conversations. Because when it comes to choosing what's right and what's easy, I will always choose what's right. So my commitment to the residents of King Township is to be the inclusive eyes, ears, voice, and the shoulders that they can lean on to further bring about a healthy and vibrant way of living to all the residents here in King Township. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm very pleased to be here this evening with all of you. As has been said already, we are very fortunate to have CCKT hosting this event tonight. And it seems to me between the format of the meeting tonight and the things you'll hear, and by reading our answers to the questions they pose, you can certainly learn a lot about the candidates who want to be your representative at council for the next 4 years. So thank you, Bruce Craig and your team, for delivering this for us. So why am I standing here after 12 years? I have a track record which shows that I have the skills and the passion to improve the quality of life in King. There are opportunities ahead to make it an even better place to live, and so that's why I am here. In response to community feedback, I have championed new or upgraded services and have worked with staff to deliver those in a fiscally responsible manner. A good example of that is the enhancements that are coming to Kettle Lake Park, new play structures and illumination of the path. We are doing it now because we now have the budget. The low increase on the township portion of the property tax for the last 5 years is because of setting priorities. Challenges for King City over the next 4 years: growth and climate change actions. The growth is challenging because it's messy and it's noisy, and the new housing units are not the traditional familiar ones to us. It's critical that you have a councillor who will rigorously review the applications and understands the perspectives of the constituents. I have done this and I will continue to do so. You need a councillor who will find solutions to speeding on our local roads. I have done this, and I know there is a need for much more. Climate action is also challenging. It's new work for the staff, for the council, and for the community at large. Since declaring a climate emergency, the corporation has started. And an example of that is that the new recreation center has a target of being built to be neutral as far as carbon goes, carbon neutral. You need a councillor who will be advocating for far more aggressive action, more aggressive targets on energy conservation, and who will work on the community action plan. Already, I've been very much involved with both of these aspects, and I will certainly continue to do so. Thank you.
Very good. Am I on? Oh, wait, am I on? Okay. It's time for a yes/no question, folks. Who's ready? I'm ready. Get your yes/no cards ready, folks. Okay, here we go. I'll say it twice. Here's the first one. Do you accept campaign donations from developers who are active in developing land in King Township? Do you accept campaign donations from developers who are active in developing land in King Township? Okay, there's your answer, folks. Oh, now it's on. Okay, there we go. Was it not?
What was Rob's answer? He can't see.
Yep, he put up no.
I put a no. Wow, that's a really sensitive mic. I like that. Okay, here's the first question. So you're going to get a minute and a half to answer. I'm going to shake up the order of answering. So I think what I'm going to do is for this round, I'm going to go for, I'm going to have, hold on here. I'm going to have Nick go first, and then I'm going to have Michael, and then Debbie, and then Rob, okay? So if you can remember that order. Here is the question. How do you feel about the transportation options currently available in King Township? How would you improve transportation and help mitigate traffic concerns? So I'll repeat that once again. Can you hear that okay, Rob?
Yes, I can, thank you.
Good stuff. Okay, I'll repeat. How do you feel about the transportation options currently available in King Township? And how would you improve transportation and help mitigate traffic concerns? Okay, so, Nick, you go first. Okay, minute and a half.
We are lucky that we do have a GO train station. It does help us all get downtown. But the concern that we have is that it's going to bring more people to King Township. We don't want to develop too fast around the train station just because there is a train station there. The train station there is for the residents. We don't need to bring more residents in. The other issue we have is the congestion along King Road. They're building condos, they're going to start building more condos, and congestion is just going to get worse. I used to be able to drive from King to Dufferin without practically braking. Now it's every 5 feet you have to hit the brakes and stop because somebody's going to be making a left turn, somebody's going to be making a right turn, and there's no flow to traffic. So what does that do? As soon as the roads open up, people start gunning it. At King Road in Spring Hill, people are driving through that intersection 70, 80 kilometers an hour. There's a lot of kids that cross that intersection because they go to the school at Holy Name, and kids cross and go to the plaza. We have to look at the traffic light placements on King Road, and perhaps look at widening King Road as well, if possible. I believe there is room to widen it, but they should have done that before all the development happened on King Road. Unfortunately, the planning is they don't do everything in the right order, and we have to look at that and plan better for the future, not react to what's happened in the past. Thank you.
So I have to agree with Nick. With the GO train is definitely a great resource for us to use to get to downtown Toronto and take more vehicles off the road. I know we've used it to head down into the city with our family. One of the concerns, and again, Nick brought this up, is King Road. We talk about King and Keel. If you come here in rush hour, you're going north on Keel, you hit that intersection, there's like one lane. And that lane is to serve left turn, right turn, and go straight, because the right lane is used for parking. Now, if you remember, about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the township spent about $750,000 to upgrade that corner. It looks beautiful, looks great, but they did not add a single lane to mitigate this problem. So, was there a planning issue? Was there not enough funds to take it to the next level? Is this a regional thing as well? So there's other concerns there. So we definitely need to improve that, and how do we do that? Well, with the 413 potentially coming in, we're going to be making that problem worse. And that's another issue that we need to find a way to divert some of this traffic. So again, looking at solutions to do that. Does that mean a bypass around King City? Because really the traffic that comes through here is not the citizens that live here. It's a throughway for Oak Ridges and Aurora to get to the highway. So we can improve transportation by looking at alternate routes. And then also what that does create too is we see people, I used to live on Norman Drive. They would cut through and that's all we would see all day through residential streets. So we need to introduce some traffic calming measures and alleviate the potential for people to take detours through residential areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just went back and checked my notes for the question. It was about transportation in general, okay? Because indeed, what we've heard about is managing the traffic, which I totally agree. There is a lot of congestion, we need to resolve it. So I want to bring in another angle about it. It'd be great if we had more public transit in King, greater than simply the GO train. And as far as the GO train goes, first of all, I think what we need to do is to make it safer for both pedestrians and cyclists to get to the GO train. And that work has started now. I know there is planning that we're going to indicate on roads coming from the east, local roads, that it's a bicycle route, and to encourage that so we could have more cyclists. And we also are now starting to do winter maintenance on some of the walking trails that would lead to the GO train station. So it's all about, we've got to get fewer cars going to the GO train station. What we also need to do, we need to get public transit that would allow people, those who live on the east side of King City, around the Heritage and Cultural Center, to be able to get on a bus and come in and pick up the YRT that's already going through King City. And ultimately, we should be able to take a bus over to Yonge Street and pick up that higher order transit that's over there. Because there's buses that are moving out of more frequently, again, going north-south. So, and this fits in with climate change, because those buses that I want to have from Schaumburg and Nobleton, they need to be little electric buses. And again, that's coming down the path. So there are as many aspects to responding to what are our transportation options in King.
Okay, Rob, you're up.
Perfect. In addition to, I guess, the comments about public transit expansion, and I think there's an opportunity for certainly greater integration with public transit, with our GO station as one. But secondly, I really want to focus on the latter point of that question, and that's the excessive speeding and traffic on King Road. What I'm proposing is twofold. One is an expansion and extension of what we consider the red light cameras that we see at many intersections already, expanding that program from basically a speeding control management perspective. That's the only way we're going to change behavior, is simply affecting people's lives. Secondly, I propose a bypass for King City on the King Vaughan line, given the considerable expansion investment that the province of Ontario has done recently at the 400, making those improvements at the 400 and the King Vaughan line. So to that extent, I do not clearly support the Region of York's official plan in terms of transportation of extending the 15 side road through to the 400 through basically King's Cross, which, as we know, is an environmentally sensitive area. So my solution is basically a bypass around King City at the King Vaughan line, right through to the 400. Thank you.
Okay, I'm on again, am I? Good. It's time for another yes/no question. Oh, I'm sorry. What? Do you want to say something in retort?
In response to Rob?
No, because I don't.
That really wasn't in the plan. Bruce? Bruce.
No, we hadn't put rebuttal in.
We hadn't really put rebuttal in.
It was an interest on this particular issue. Moderator,
You wanna-
we wanted to take maybe up to a minute.
You want to do a 1 minute rebuttal? We'll try that. Sorry for that, folks.
For all four
But
candidates.
you know what's coming. Okay, Debbie, if you want to do a 1 minute rebuttal, how about we try that? Okay.
See how it goes. And then fourth issue.
So, in truth, I had thought you said that if one candidate heard something, that they could respond back. So.
No,
so I didn't-
we're going to try it now. No, I
Okay,
think.
gonna try it. And the rebuttal, it's really just to build on it. I want to build on Rob's point about the King Vaughan line as a really good option, because also, if we just go to the King Vaughan line today, it's quite evident that a lot of work is being done on that road. And so it would make imminent sense that it would become de facto, this is how you get around King City. You don't need to go through it. So, thank you for deviating from the plan.
So,
issue with that is that the boundaries of King start 100 yards north of King Vaughan. So any development on King Vaughan is completely in Vaughan's hands. We have no, well, we do have a say, but we don't have direct control over that because it's technically the city of Vaughan.
That is a fact.
No, I think the bypass is a great idea, whether it's King Vaughan or another road, but I think we're all in agreement with that one.
Okay.
And we have little control over anything. It's all about, it's all about saying this is what I want and working for it.
Yes.
Rob had an addition.
Well, Rob, do you happen to have a retort comment you'd like to make?
Listen, I'm more than confident that we'll get support from King Vaughan because, as you know, most of the traffic is coming from the south. This is a regional issue. This is not a Township of King issue. This is a regional issue, and I'm quite confident with the support of the mayor as our regional councillor, we'll get support, notwithstanding it is jurisdictionally a long road.
There you go. So, quite true that we are a lower tier municipality. Your region is the upper tier municipality, and our representative on that is our mayor, which is just great. My personal thing is I would really like to see a second representative with King on that board, because you've got Markham and Vaughan, they have multiple regional councillors. Can you imagine having just a councillor dedicated to our region? I think time has come, but I know that the other municipalities don't necessarily think that's a great idea. So I would challenge councillors to try to push that idea through the mayor. Okay, it's time for our next true, false question. And it's very appropriate. Very simply, do you oppose the construction of Highway 413? Do you oppose the construction of Highway 413? Yes.
I oppose
Hold it up high. Hold it up high. Fantastic. Thank you. All right, now we're going to get on to our next question. Okay, there's a bit of it's about trees, okay? I'm just telling you right now, it's about trees, but there's a little bit of a preamble here, okay? In the absence of a tree bylaw in King for private trees, King continues, not without trying, by the way. I mean, we really tried hard to get one. I know CCKT lobbied for that quite hard over the last few years, as did council. In the absence of a tree bylaw, King continues to lose many healthy large trees each year through tree removal and clear cutting of private lots, especially in the three villages. Now, I will stress, we're talking about private lots right now. It gets a bit different when you're talking about public lands. So, the question is, how will you show leadership and what actions will you take to effectively protect healthy mature trees on private lands in King Township? So I'll repeat the guts of the question. How will you show leadership and what actions will you take to effectively protect healthy mature trees on private lands in King Township? So this time, how about we head up with Debbie. Let's just go down the line. We'll go with Debbie and we'll go down the line here in reverse of alphabetical order. How's that?
Well, I guess what I will do, if I'm reelected, is I will go for a third time sponsoring, working on a tree bylaw and taking it to council and trying to get a bylaw in place. We can't keep doing, it won't be the same bylaw effort that I have been involved with before. I think I need to understand better from those who say that they believe trees are important, but then they say, but I don't want a bylaw. So I keep thinking there must be some nugget there that I don't get as to why they don't support a tree bylaw. But indeed, for those people who don't know, there has been two in the last 6 years, I think it is. I have been the lone council person at the table approving a report with a tree bylaw. So there is a lot of history, and there are some who are afraid of it, and I haven't been successful yet, but that doesn't mean I won't keep trying, because the large trees are the ones that are really capturing so much of the greenhouse gases, in addition to the other things that they do as far as retaining moisture in the land, etc. And yes, it's wonderful that we are having a lot of new trees being planted, but they're too young, and it's going to be 20, 25 years before they are really giving us value as far as a carbon sequester.
So if it's a tie in the election, do we both become councillor? Because I don't understand why there isn't a tree bylaw. It doesn't make any sense. Part of my work is I build homes in Toronto, and Toronto has a very, very strict tree bylaw. And it's just common sense. Why we don't have a tree bylaw makes no sense to me at all. So definitely something that I would fight for. So we need to implement and protect our trees. And it's just common sense. You know, we're not preventing people from, you know, if there's a tree that they want to build a home on that's in the way, we're not preventing them from necessarily removing it. What we have to do is supplement that tree and plant another tree on that property, or multiple trees to compensate for it. So that's the City of Toronto, that's how they deal with it. Because again, you know, we want to create more space for people to live in, potentially bring in, you know, multi-generational families into homes, potential rental income as well. So, you know, there's a lot of sort of gentrification happening in King Township, just like it's happening in Toronto. So there should be no reason why there isn't a tree bylaw similar to theirs here in King Township.
First, I'm going to spend 15 seconds clarifying yes, no questions. I saw a lot of gasps in the audience when I held up the no sign. So just because I put up the no sign doesn't mean I'm for Highway 413. I just wanted to point that out. I just like to leave it more to the councillor where the highway would actually pass through and defer to them and agree with that. So if they're for it, I wouldn't step in their way. But if they're against it, I would vote against it. I just wanted to clarify that position because the way the question was worded. Now, with regards to the tree bylaw, I was talking to some residents on Banner Lane here, and you know they're building custom houses, and there's 10 mature trees there, and they just clear cut everything, put up a 5,000, 6,000 square foot house. It's ridiculous. I can't believe that there's no tree bylaw. Like I'm going to say this passionately, and I think I'm the only one that put it in writing on the questionnaire on the website. You can go read the CCKT answers, and I actually put this on the written answers that there should be a bylaw. And there should be at least a minimum of 1 tree per quarter acre if you're going to keep it there. And that's a start, just to get it in the books. And once it's there, we can increase the 2 trees and take it from there. But the fact that there's no bylaw, and you can clear cut your property and build a house in this area, it's absurd. Like, I don't know how else to phrase it. Like, in 20 years, we're not going to have any trees here, you know, and we're going to have all our trees further away where we can't see them. They're going to do us much good 100 kilometers away. We need them here in the township. We got to keep them here. Thank you.
Rob, you're up.
So I too support a private tree bylaw. I really am I'm at a loss of words why the Township of King does not have one. As you know, the majority of municipalities in York Region have a tree bylaw. I understand it as most recently as the town of Newmarket. Here we are, probably the most progressive municipality in all of York Region from an environmental climate perspective, and we don't have a tree bylaw. So I certainly support a tree bylaw. I don't understand, to be honest, what the resistance is. When I've been speaking with residents since May, 99.9% of the residents are echoing what we're hearing tonight. And so I very much do support a tree bylaw. And that would be one of the immediate actions that I'd consider if I'm fortunate enough to be elected. Thank you.
Well, I'll take a bit of poetic license here. I think I was partly chair when this issue came to the floor, but CCKT had a subcommittee just dealing with this to work with council. I mean, we're working with council on a private tree bylaw. And it's there, and it was very well worded, and it was supported by the clerk. It made its way through different departments. And it really came down to, I don't know whether you would say a small or a large number of private landowners that were just very, very vocal, who said, this is a form of regulation, and you're not going to tell me what I can do on my property. And it came down to that. A majority of council buckled. Simple as that. So it really came down to, it was a pure political play, and it's unfortunate. But the work is there. The work that we did is there, and it can be picked up and it can be forwarded along. So I would tell you, you don't have to start from scratch. Okay? CCKT was very, very vocal on this issue, and I know will continue to be. But you know what it is? It's time for another yes/no question. It's got to make it fun. Okay, here's the next yes/no question. Here we go. Do you support a full environmental impact assessment for the Bradford Bypass? Do you support a full environmental impact assessment for the Bradford Bypass? Music to our ears. Okay, this is great. Thank you. All right. Another question. Okay. Here's the next question, okay? What climate actions does King Township need to take in the next 5 years to achieve its climate action goals? Okay, repeat. What climate actions does King Township need to take in the next 5 years to achieve its climate action goals? Now, which order should I go? Who should go first? Nancy, who should go first?
Michael, because he hasn't been first.
Michael. Okay, Michael, you go first, then we'll go with Debbie, then we'll go back. Okay, you go first.
Well, in terms of actions, I think first and foremost is education. We need to know, as citizens, what can we do individually? And that comes through understanding what our options are. So, you know, we've come a long way. The province has done a good job in terms of making our electricity net zero, or close to. We're getting there. I think we're at about 93% of our electricity production is coming from net zero clean sources, meaning Niagara Falls, wind energy, and the big one being nuclear. Now, on that topic, you know, again, this is beyond municipal, but you know, the Pickering power plant's going to probably close down in about 2 or 3 years. They're trying to extend that a bit, so we're going to lose 16% of net zero clean energy that's coming from that facility. So what is, you know, I don't know what the plan is. What's the next step in terms of generating some more clean energy that's carbon free? So obviously electrifying our fleets of cars is a great step forward to utilize that clean energy and stepping away from it. Are there incentives that the city can provide to do that? I understand if you're a business owner, you buy an electric vehicle, it's 100% tax write-off in the first year. So that's a great thing that the province, I believe, sponsors. Again, just getting further into greening strategies. The tree bylaw, of course, is something that we need to implement immediately. And improving public transit, as Debbie has mentioned as well. So again, education, it comes down to that, and creating awareness of what we can do as citizens to improve our environment. Thank you.
So you go first. Okay, so where do we go? Debbie? How about you, Debbie? Okay, and then we'll go Rob, and then we'll go with
Okay. Michael, I totally agree with the first point. Education, and I'll just go a little bit further, you sort of got into it. Education and what are the options? Education about what could be done and what would the value of it be, understanding the benefit. What would the benefit be if I retrofitted my house and put in more insulation? What would the benefit be if I did go and get an electric car? So that really is very much what needs to be done. And you know, that is what the community climate action plan is supposed to be. And so there needs to be a lot of work done on that, because until people understand, we're not going to have action. yes, electrifying the municipal fleet. I also think in the next 5 years, it is very reasonable to be saying the township needs to launch a program that will be incenting homeowners to do retrofits and will increase energy management. 40% of our greenhouse gas emissions is transportation, 35% is all the buildings that already exist. And so there are programs in place, and Vaughan and Newmarket have pilots underway as to how to do that. It's a program, it's not about municipal property tax money funding it. There's a very good way to do that as to how to help homeowners get over the financial hurdles. The other thing is certainly the township on its own buildings needs to keep working at improving the footprint. And so the Schaumburg Town Hall on Main Street is a good example. It's being all renovated, and it's going to have a much better carbon footprint than it did with the old hall. So we need to be doing that with all of our facilities.
Rob, you're up.
Perfect. In no particular order, I think there's a few opportunities. When I reflect on the current climate action plan, one of the things we're missing is it's not smart. What do I mean by that? It's not specific. The objectives are not measurable. I don't think in many cases they're achievable. Are they relevant? And obviously time bound. I think the plan does an excellent job addressing things about what, but falls short on the how. How are we actually going to get these things done? As noted earlier, there's two opportunities. It's really on transportation and on the residential side. And when we think about specifically on the residential side, and just further to some of the comments earlier, we absolutely need to get local developers to increase basically the building standards so that people are aware and educated about the benefits of basically going green. And the ROI is there, so the return on investment is clear. And so when we consider future residential housing, consideration of things like heat pumps, self-facing roofs, electric charging stations should be mandatory going forward. And again, the ROI is there. So I think we could be leaders by increasing our local building standards above provincial standards, address some of these objectives that are, aggressive. And finally, we need the financial support, we need the resources and the infrastructure, both from provincial and federal governments, to get this done. Thank you.
Reducing the carbon footprint is a national problem, and we need a national solution to national problems. But there are stuff that we can do locally to help alleviate that. The township of King is not going to solve climate change by itself, but we have to look at what we can do as a municipality to reduce it where we can. And the three things that we can do that are easily identifiable is one, like Rob mentioned, change the building code. We got to have better insulation in the buildings to prevent heat loss, maybe better graded windows to prevent heat loss and energy loss. The other thing we can do immediately is I would propose the tree bylaw on day one if I got elected. That's a no-brainer. That cutting down trees is gonna hurt the environment, and we need those trees to reduce the carbon footprint. And the third thing is traffic congestion. Cars that are idling on the road are gonna emit a lot more pollution than cars that flow freely and you get from point A to point B quicker. So we need to look at what we can do to alleviate traffic congestion, because that's gonna be the biggest reduction that we can do at the municipal level to reduce our carbon footprint. Thank you.
Excellent. So I'm going to leave it at that for the CCKT questions, because it's about time we move on to the audience. So while I'm doing the last true false question, you might want to get lined up in front of the mic, or at least think about that question you'd like to ask, because that's coming up in just a second. So for our first true false question, Here it is. Will you protect the Greenbelt against conversions to employment and commercial development along the Highway 400 corridor? Okay, so specifically the Highway 400 corridor. One more time. Will you protect the Greenbelt against conversions to employment and commercial development along the Highway 400 corridor? Yes or no? Yes or no? Moment of truth. Rob's still thinking.
He's frozen, He's frozen.
Oh, are you frozen?
No, he's not.
No.
No, he moved.
Rob, did you hear the question?
Yes.
Okay. Are you abstaining?
No, yes, yes.
Okay, all right, okay, that can happen. Can make you do it. So anyways, everybody. All right, folks, that's it for that portion of the meeting. Now we're going to give you a chance to ask a question. Now, just before we do that, I want to say, please remember, we are asking the candidates to get their opinions across, not so much yours. So if I see that you're turning your question into a statement or a speech, I'm going to stop you, okay? And also, please, take 30 seconds or so to ask your question, but really let's try to get the candidates to give a response that gives everybody in the audience what they need to make an educated, an informed opinion, okay? So do we have, and by the way, the candidates will each have a minute and a half to answer. Yes, a minute and a half to answer. Do we have a question from the audience? Yes, sir, come on. If you don't mind, if you wouldn't mind just stating your name and maybe at least the village you live in, or...
Yeah, so my name is Maurizio Bianchi, and I'm a longtime King City resident. And my question is for Rob. Rob, as a family man and a politician, you talk a lot about honesty, integrity, and truth, trust, and maybe an implied transparency. What does that mean to you? And maybe more importantly, what does that mean to the residents of King City?
Thank you. So, as the public might be aware, on February 22nd, Mr. Sescolini, our current councillor for Ward 1, made an apology. And it was regarding the naming of streets in King City. The unfortunate part is he apologized to council, but he provided no context, and I want to give you that context. On February 8th, 2021, a report to name streets in the new subdivision was up on the committee of the whole agenda. On that day, a developer requested of the council, Ward 1, that a street name be named, and Sescolini agreed to that motion. However, during that meeting, he requested 3 street names to be named. Those 2 additional street names were his grandparents. Okay? So between February 8th and February 22nd meetings, it was brought to the attention of all members of council that Councillor Sescolini used the developer's request to deceive council in believing that 2 additional street names were also part of the developer's request. So I'm asking Mr. Sescolini, because I recognize a couple individuals in the back who I'm sure will pass it on, for Mr. Sescolini to do the right thing. And I'm asking him to publish in next week's newspaper a public apology with the proper context as to why he's apologizing, and he also self-report this to the Integrity Commissioner for breach of trust. Thank you. And that's why I'm bringing up integrity and honesty in this election.
Thanks, Rob. The question was directed directly to Rob. Any of you, if you have a comment you'd like to make, you're welcome to do that as well. Do you have a comment? Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and defend Jordan's policies because I disagree with most of them. However, in the light of transparency, I'll just like to point out that can we get a statement of admission that question was pre-planned? Thank you. The other thing is about the transparency. I think that we have to be honest with the books at King City. So everything financial has to be up there for everybody to see. There can be no bylaws passed in the future that will hide anything, and we have to know where every single penny is spent, because one of the things about financial responsibility is we have to know where our tax dollars are spent. Nobody's moving to King to save on taxes. We know we pay high taxes and we should know where every single penny is spent. Thank you.
Anybody else want to make a comment? You're good? Okay, thank you. We'd love another question.
I have a question. Hi, I'm Martha Richardson, and I live in King City. Michael, I just had a question for you. I was at the provincial candidates debate in the same room, same place, same setup. And you had said at that point you were very much for the you didn't say you were for the 413. You said you thought, which I thought was a great idea, it could maybe be moved.
Right.
So I'm surprised to hear you say you are against it now. I guess, could you clarify?
I'm not for the 413.
Okay.
And at the time, I did clearly say that, sorry, thank you, that the 413, it's very clearly a transportation route to satisfy same-day service for Amazon and Walmart. You can see where the Walmart building has already been built. And if you look at the planned route, the developers own most of that land adjacent to it. So just to clarify what I had said, it was that the money that's being spent for that road should be used in other ways to bring more affordable housing or access to affordable housing. So I'm not against other roads. For example, we spoke about a bypass, perhaps on King Vaughan, to divert traffic. So while I am against the 413, I am for alternate routes that would alleviate congestion on our municipal roads here, and also provide access to more accessible housing, affordable housing.
But not specifically a major highway? Because
No.
I think at the time you talked about maybe moving it somewhere further north or somewhere further south, but no, you're
whether
not.
it's a highway or a bypass, perhaps. I wasn't specific to that.
Okay, okay, thank you very much for
Thank you.
clarifying.
Anybody else?
Hi, Kathy Wellesley. I have property in King City on Kill Street. My question is, from anyone who wants to answer, what are your solutions for true affordable housing in King Township? And we're not talking, $500,000 condos. So affordable housing, please?
Who wants to go first? Want to go first, Debbie? Yep. Sure. Just make sure it's on.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Kathy, because it's clearly a topic that most of us think about in various ways. So by your question, you've said, don't tell me that a condo is the answer, if the condo is going to cost that amount of money. So if we're really trying to get at a low number, I think one of the things, the opportunity in King Township is homes being retrofitted for safe, legal apartments. There are apartments today in King Township in various places. I've learned about a few through my recent door knocking. I don't know if they're legal, I don't know if they're safe. So I think that is, a realistic, reasonable way that kind of thing could happen in King. The other way is if we were successful in negotiating with a developer of a unit of apartment buildings or condos, that a percentage of them would be rented below market value. And so that is something we have not done in King yet. I don't know enough about how you would do that, but the idea to me sounds like something that should be explored.
Sure. So that is a challenge, definitely in King Township. Now, Debbie mentioned about legal apartments and retrofitting homes. I've actually built a couple of homes in Ward 5. Both times I've built basement apartments. And again, and I've seen it door knocking as well, where, it allows for, different levels of income to live in King Township, and it also helps the people of King Township, because as you've mentioned, Nick, the taxes here are high, but it's kind of the price we pay to live in a township that is not densely impacted by industry. So, and I know the official plan and the planning department in King is promoting that. They are promoting the basement apartments, the garden suites. I think is a great idea, and that's also in the official plan. And in Toronto, they've now also made it much easier to do that. And in fact, personally, it's something that I'm looking at to allow for my aging parents, now 82 and 83 years old, to come and live with us. Bring them back in and make their life, a bit more affordable rather than living in a big city. So there are measures in place, although I'm not necessarily in favor of like low-rise rental buildings, but there are alternatives.
I don't think it's as efficient to build affordable housing in unaffordable areas. As the township, we need to identify areas outside the main core that townhouses can be built. And we can also look at building townhouses in King City proper, but we have to identify places a little bit further away from Keele and King to build townhouses that are more affordable. Now that this means closer to the 400 where they can have transportation access. Because if you need a more affordable housing, you probably need more help with transportation as well. So we got to be closer to major transportation hubs. We can't bog down the downtown village of King City. So I don't agree with basement apartments. I think it could probably attract crime. I wouldn't be for that. But I think that affordable housing is an issue, and we should definitely look at it. But I think it should be a little bit further away than Ward 1. I think it should be closer to the highways.
Rob, do you have a comment, Rob?
I sure do, and I take an opposite opinion to that. I don't believe in urban sprawl. I think we should have intensification in the core, particularly in the GO Transit corridor, where the public facilities, the public transportation is available, where these sanitary services, the water is available. And I believe that's where we should have intensification, mixed uses, both rental, both ownership, to support seniors, for people that want to downsize in this community, who have lived in King their whole life and want to continue to live in King Township. We should be providing that opportunity, but I believe that should be in the GO Transit corridor, where the intensification in our secondary plan has already been designated. That's my vision, that's my plan. Thank you.
That's right. Okay.
Hi. I have a two-part question. The first one is a yes or no answer. Have you been vaccinated, yes or no? If the answer is no, how are you ensuring, as you're campaigning, that you're not exposing the vulnerable or elderly to COVID? Do you want to answer that one first, and then I'll go to the second part?
Can we try a yes or no on whether you're vaccinated? What do you think about that? Bruce?
Maybe I'll leave it up to the candidate if you want to pass it. I mean, it's a very controversial issue, in our society. So I'll leave it up to the candidate. If you want to pass on answering that, you can. Just be respectful.
So was this directed to all of us?
Directed to all of us. Voluntarily, you could disclose your vaccination status as the first part of the question, but you don't have to.
Yeah, just recognize it. Yeah, just say it again. Recognize it. That I know is viewed as a personal issue, and so the CCKT, I don't want to put you on the spot in answering that. Okay, so it's completely up to you, respecting the question too. Yes.
Well, I've been very public about my vaccinations and attending the clinic, so I don't feel that it is any news.
Okay, so you have a partial response. Now, what, your second part, Mary?
The second part is, if we get another wave of COVID, and if you are elected as a representative of our township, what restrictions would you oppose? I.e., would you put back in place the restrictions of proof of vaccination prior to taking part in fitness activities, for example?
Sure, I think, yeah, you can answer this.
Personally, I think that government should leave it up to the citizens to make their best judgment. I mean, I'll admit I'm not vaccinated, but that doesn't mean that I'm any less of a person than anybody here who's vaccinated. I know you might be afraid to talk to me because I'm not vaccinated, but to be honest, and I hate to say this, because it might get a lot of views here, but that's more of an issue on you than it is on me. If you're afraid to talk to somebody who's not vaccinated, then don't open the door. So if I'm going door to door knocking and somebody's afraid to open the door because they're not vaccinated, just don't open the door. Don't put it on me to say, oh, you should have knocked on my door in the first place. We have, and you said if there's another wave, I think, what are we on, the 9th wave? I mean, at this point, I don't think it's going to get any worse, and I can't see the government trying to impose any more restrictions on the people. I think the worst is behind us, and I think we have to move forward. Thank you.
So it's no secret that I'm not in favor of mandates, particularly with young children. We've seen, that was my daughter who just came in here. At 12 years old, she was prevented from participating in physical activities. At 12 years old. At what threat does a 12-year-old have on anyone, or anyone to anyone else? We've seen it, we've got enough information, we have the data. I think we've come a long way, and what we have to focus on is protecting each other by means that does not create divisiveness and segregation, because that's what we have seen. So we've come to a point where mandates are being lifted federally. We can board planes now and together, and there's no segregation happening there. And I'd like to hope that we don't have to cross that bridge again. And again, we have to be reasonable and respect each other and show compassion for each other. That's all I have to say about that.
Rob, do you have a comment on this one?
Absolutely. So yes, I have been triple vaccinated. Listen, it comes down to trust, and I trust my doctor. I trust my family doctor. I'm not a doctor, and I asked my doctor, should I be vaccinated? And she said, Rob, take the first vaccination available. And that's all I had to hear. So that's my position.
The comment that I want to make in response is so I'll answer it as a counselor and then as a citizen. As a counselor, I feel it's very important that public health measures from those who have been put in the position and have been appointed to be the public health officer, that their advice be followed. And as a representative of the council, or on the council, I feel that would be extremely important to follow that. and to be role modeling it. And as a citizen, I value that we have public health and public health officers and that they manage the health of the public and give advice. I certainly do not have the expertise to make my own decisions that would be different from it. You know, that's part of what how our society is staying together and carries out its daily living. And so, you know, that's my feeling on that.
All right, then. Thank you. Question?
Yes, hello, it's Anne Rainey, King City. This is a question for Michael, and perhaps anyone who wishes to comment. The question before I wasn't aware of, well, I lined up. Mine is more about your PN, sir. I am also a professional engineer, so there are others here. I've worked pretty hard for that. And then, as you know, an engineer is an applied scientist. I do not presume to know brain surgery. I do not presume to know public health science. I trust, as Mr. Payne has said and Debbie has said, the officials that do this for a living. Your campaigning this time with the PN after your name bothers me. And I want you to answer, please, do you or do you not believe in the oath of an engineer to put the protection of people, property, and environment first when you said last year, no masks, anti-mask, and anti-vaccine? My mother worked in hospitals when the polio pandemic happened and people were lining up for those shots. These are much safer. You're misquoting the science when you criticize Seneca. Okay, so I'm not okay with that and you putting PN. So please explain to me how you feel that's keeping your oath.
Because there are truths for me that I'm experiencing firsthand. I have a 20-year-old nephew, soccer player, Windsor and York, suffered a heart attack. 20-year-old boy, myocarditis. They're treating him with that. Just earlier this year, just last month, he develops lupus. 20-year-old kid with no health issues historically, and now he's suffering. And he's just one example that's personal to me. And he's not the only one. Our public chief medical officer of health, Kieran Moore, clearly came out and said, when they were promoting the booster, and one journalist asked him, well, why wouldn't you just make this, available to everybody? And he clearly said, we're doing a risk-benefit analysis here. I'm sort of paraphrasing what he said. You're aware of what he did say, right?
Yes, I am. You're talking
and he
about
said
the
that there was a
Toronto.
1 in 5,000 case of myocarditis. At least that's what's been reported. So, when it comes to mandates, I don't agree with him. When it comes to this, we need to take educated decisions.
Exactly.
Rob's been triple vaccinated, and now he's here presenting through Skype because he now has COVID. So I don't want to get too much into this. I'm going to turn off the mic.
So may I just follow up by saying,
No, sorry.
I just wanted to say that I understand the personal perspective and that might very well emotionally cause a problem in seeing it from the science perspective, looking at all the data, the risks on benefits of both. Thank you.
Okay. Difficult topic. Is there another question from the audience? Now, I just want to ask, please, sensitive topic, let the councillors state their opinion. It's not so much about your opinion, okay? I'm not contradicting what you're saying, Anne, but let's keep it to not making speeches, okay? What's your question, sir?
Thank you. Jacob Schneider, 4th generation in King Township. I farm about 500 to 600 acres west of here. This is directed to all candidates. What if you guys get elected, what will you do to protect and preserve our agricultural land as well as the agribusiness that currently resides in King Township? Thank you.
What was the last part of the question?
What would you do to protect and preserve the agribusiness that's currently in King Township?
Why don't we start with Rob? Would you like to answer first, Rob?
Sure, thank you. This is an important issue. I find a lot of the questions I get, particularly in King City, are more urban focused, and we're forgetting about the significance of the rural areas in terms of not only from our climate action environment, but also from an economy perspective. And so, yes, I believe it's important to support our agricultural businesses in terms of supporting them financially. As you know, they do receive significant tax deductions as part of paying taxes in about a quarter versus residential, and we have to maintain that. I think there's some opportunities to improve agribusinesses and perhaps consider other uses, so bed and breakfasts, other agribusinesses, protecting those businesses and facilitating those businesses to prosper in the future. So very much support our farmers. Obviously, we can't eat if we don't have our farmers. And so given the fact that the majority of King City is on the Oak Ridges Moraine, I certainly support our farmers in that regard. Thank you.
So, I think farmers are, if not the most important, one of the very most important jobs, and they're critical because they control our food supply. And you can see all around the world that there's going to be food shortages, so we have to take care of the farmers. And we have to protect farmland. Any land that is currently being used for farming, actively used for farming, should have a special protection designation that we should not allow to develop on. We should never take farmland to develop it. We have to identify other lands that are not being used for farming, that are further away, that we can develop. So we have to look at where we're going to develop in the future. Another point I'd like to make is that I was talking to a constituent up on 18 Side Road, and he owns 24 acres. He said, what am I going to do with this land? He has a custom house on it. So what we can also do to prevent the building of subdivisions in the future is that we can subdivide some of the lands into smaller parcels, and then if they're sold 5 acres here, 5 acres there, and you have houses randomly scattered around, it's going to be very hard to assemble land and build entire subdivisions. So that's what we have to do in the more rural areas.
Really important question, Jacob, thank you. Because indeed, we end up talking about King City. And both wards go up into the rural, so there is interest in the ward. I think the first thing that we have done, first thing to say is I want to brag that we do have approved our rural zoning bylaw, which just got approved last week, and that is really critical. And so we've done that. And what we're now going to need to do is to make sure that it is respected. And so we also need to make sure we have got the right eyes out there who are going to be talking about it as not. I think for sure what's very important is that the urban boundaries are respected and we don't push out. I want to point out, of course, that 413 is not just a question of subdivisions, it's new roads being built. And I believe there are several hundred acres of farmland, maybe more, the numbers left my brain right now, where land that was being farmed is now going to be paved over. And in the interim, because it'll take 10 years till that 413 is built, if it is built, that land is not going to be managed well and effectively, so it's being wasted. And so that is another issue that we need to be addressing.
As far as farmlands are concerned,
Bridges Moraine. We have, we have these bylaws in place to protect the lands and prevent paving over these lands. Hopefully, we can, prevent these highways from running through these protected lands through environmental assessments and ensuring that we don't damage the valuable land that we use to farm on. In addition to that, farming should be celebrated. King Township has a history, culture, fourth generation in our case. And, we need to promote that, make that part of perhaps, we talked a lot about bringing out alternative funds and rather than relying on us, the taxpayer, to burden the load of paving or paying for infrastructure and other amenities, we should look at, fairs, local fairs and festivals that celebrate that and bring in potentially tourist dollars as well. And promote local farming more so in, again, weekend festivals and fairs and farmers markets, things of that nature, and attract more income in that respect. Thank you.
Just want to let you know, this will be the last question unless you want to have one question, right, Bruce? Okay, so I'm going to cut it off because I want to have closing statements. I want to have time to get us out of here. Is this a question at the end? No. No, I don't believe so. So we're going to have Jennifer, we're going to have Bruce, and then that's going to be it for the questions from the audience. Just wanted you to know that in case you were thinking we're going to cut it off at these two, okay? So please, what is your question?
So to Nick, originally when we talked about the 413, you held up your card that you were no, so that you supported the 413. Then you did clarify that because it was in King Vaughan, it didn't really affect us. It's going to have two exits.
That's not exactly what I said. Can you please be?
Okay, then please clarify, because that was my understanding, that because it was further south, that it wasn't our priority. But please do clarify. And then for Rob, similarly, you also held up the sign saying that you did support the 413. I'd like to know more why you do.
Sure. I guess there's a misunderstanding. I do not support the 413.
Oh, he held
No,
up the
I do
no
not.
card. You did.
No, he didn't.
He did hold up the no card.
But
Okay.
so to re-clarify my position, I never said I was for 413. The question was, would you automatically vote against it, or would you vote no automatically? So that's why I put no, because I have to.
Yeah.
Are we going to go back and reread the original
Do
question?
you oppose the construction of Highway 413?
Okay, just because I don't oppose it doesn't mean I'm for it. What I'm trying to say is, I would prefer to leave it to the councillors whose wards are more directly affected and then agree with them.
We are directly affected.
More directly. That actually runs through their ward. So if I would talk to the councillor of that specific ward, see what their constituency votes for. Because if their constituents are for it, I'm not going to stand in their way.
Your
But if they're against
constituents
it,
don't like it.
if their constituents don't like it, then I would vote against it. That's my policies. I just wanted to say that I'm not for it, but if they wanted it, I wouldn't vote against it. But assuming they don't want it, I would vote no if they don't want it. Does that clarify?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a comment from any of the other candidates? Okay. Bruce, your question.
Okay, I'm going to bring this all back to King City right now, because that's really where I know is an important piece for you, and to the north, respecting a rural area to the north. The center of King City is poised to go through some big changes in the core area. What is your vision? And I'm thinking there's going to be opportunities with the current arena that we know is going to become redundant in the future as the new rec center's made. There's the old senior center. So there's some municipal lands in the center. Plus, I'm thinking of King and Keel, which is just a huge busy place we know, and you've already addressed ideas about trying to reduce traffic there. But what is your vision, let's say 10, 15 years from now, for where the township might go, knowing that it does own some of the lands in that core area right now? Just kind of what's your vision? What do you see down the road for the community?
Nancy, what order should they go in? I think I've done every combination there is. Why don't we just go down the table here? Let's make it really easy. We'll start with Debbie and then we'll end with Rob. How's that?
That is a big, big opportunity, Bruce, for King City. So I forget who it was at the table talked about or raised the risk of public lands being sold. I certainly wanted to be very clear, those public lands are our treasure, and we are going to, the township the council is going to work with the public to decide how best we can use those lands. It is a wonderful opportunity to create so in my vision, but this is my vision. My vision is that there will be a couple low-rise for senior citizens, and there will be some very nice, interesting shops where somebody can go get a coffee, and there'll be a piazza where you can sit outside, and it can be quiet, and you can visit with your friends and not be harassed by traffic. But more importantly than my vision is how we get there. So there needs to be public consultation on that. And we need to look at all those public lands, the parking lot, the King City Seniors, the arena, which is so important to what King City is today. We've got to be very respectful of that space. And we need to do something that is going to really create a place that people can say, let's meet at the core of King City.
I agree with Debbie, the four corners there. While it has been beautified, it needs a lot of work. It needs to be, we need to widen that bridge, it'll be nice and quiet when we're sitting out there at Hogan's there until that train comes by. So we need to electrify the trains, and that'll help a little bit. But the congestion at that corner is just, it's crazy, and it's getting worse. So widening the bridge so that where the train runs under, so that we can add a right turn lane and a left turn lane to make things a little bit more safe and efficient. And then we see the gentrification sort of happening, but we've got, a parking lot on one corner, and then the land next to near the Roost there, it's still not, being worked on. So we'd like to see those projects maybe come along and again, bring in affordable housing we talked about, bring in some more street level shops, and, really just transform that corner into something that, as King Township residents, we're a little more proud of. Not that I'm knocking it, but it can be definitely improved. And we can, as a place for the community to gather and come together. Thank you.
One of my four main points why I'm running is because I want to prevent the sale of public land. It is our treasure, and I think everybody in this room can agree that nobody wants to see public land sold. And that's why I want to bring some fiscal responsibility to council, because you see that the new rec center, way over budget. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the new city hall went way over budget too. So what we need to do is we need to have somebody who's fiscally responsible and keep the costs down so that the town is not put in a position where it's forced to sell public land. Now, as far as my vision, I'd like to keep that area recreational. We built some beautiful baseball diamonds there, and we have the hockey arena there, but it will be decommissioned. There's no point of having another hockey arena when the two new rinks are open up on Duffer. So what I'd like to see happen is have that repurposed into an indoor soccer facility. We don't have any indoor soccer facility in King. The only we have is the bubble at Country Day, and I try to rent it, and they say, sorry, we don't rent to the public, which is another story in itself. But we should have more access to recreation in that area, and that's what that land should be used for. We should add a few more tennis courts. People are saying they have to drive away to play tennis because those tennis courts are too busy. So we need to support the King Tennis Club. We need to support the King Soccer Club. We need to have more recreation. And as far as on the street level itself, I believe we should have Main Street shops with units on top, but we shouldn't go too high. We need to limit the height of the building. Thank you.
mean, my vision for, and we can consider, Doctors Lane is really the potential hub or the center for King City in the future. And I think there's significant opportunities to create a destination for people to walk and bike there, from connecting our neighborhoods to that hub. It was mentioned earlier, one of the questions about supporting our farmers, having farmers markets there on Sundays, and supporting our local farmers and farmers from the marsh, music festivals, respecting the legacy and the contribution of the King City Lions Club. They built that arena. They should be one of the key stakeholders, as well as the community, as to what is the future, what is the vision for that community hub. So I think there's tremendous opportunities to really develop that, working with the private sector as well, to understand, yes, maybe retail at the bottom with residential shared mixed uses on top, to support our housing needs in the future. So I definitely see that as really the center point or the hub for the community going forward.
Okay, we're going to move into the closing statements by each candidate. Now they have 2 minutes. I'm going to start with Michael, then I'm going to do Debbie, and then I'm going to do Nick, and then I'm going to pass it to Rob. Okay, so you're up, Michael.
Thank you. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'd like to talk about community. But rather than talking about community, because it's hard to put it into words, I'd like for us to experience what it means for me, what community is. So we'll do a little little meditation or a little bit of a mind exercise here. So I want to make sure everybody's comfortable and relaxed. Take a little deep breath in. We'll let that out, nice and slow. Another deep breath in. And if you feel comfortable enough, at some point you might want to sort of close your eyes and bring it inside a little bit. What I'd like everyone to do is to bring to your attention someone or something that brings you joy. It could be your children, it could be your spouse, it could be your pet, it could be your favorite park bench along the King City trails. I just want you to hold that image in your mind. Most importantly, I want you to feel that joy, the emotion that's coming to you right now. Hold on to that. Feel free to smile. Feel that. I want you to also bring to your attention now that the person in front of you, the person behind you, to your left and to your right, everyone in this room is holding that space for something that brings them immense joy. So now we're all connected to each other, beyond what words can describe. And that can be extended beyond these four walls to the cars traveling along King Road, to the people living in the community, right across the country, across the world. But let's bring it here, just into this room for the moment. And just for now, realize that we are all connected. And the common thread that we have is simply the desire for what's best for ourselves, for our families, and our community. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I was going to do that. Oh, yeah, it's okay.
I feel very noisy talking. Just talking. Oh, there you go. Not that noisy.
You're on that.
I'm on now? Okay. I was, after Michael's very, very different, creative, it's thrown me off. So I have been privileged to serve the residents of King Township as a councillor for Ward 5 since 2010. I'm inspired to seek a fourth term because of what has been accomplished, and very importantly, how it was accomplished. And as we've discussed, there are great opportunities ahead to make King an even better place, a better community, and I want to work on that from the council table. My track record speaks for itself. On my blog, debbieschaefer.ca, there is an extensive review of what I've accomplished and contributed to King over the 12 years. And given the challenges ahead, I think my record and my passion indicates that voting for me is a very sound bet for citizens in Ward 5. I make one promise, and only one. I will work very hard to influence the choices made at the council table for the best outcome for King.
Well, I'm running because I want to keep King nice for my family and for all our families as we raise children in the township. And I think we need a new, fresh face in city council. And we have the incumbents, and I know Rob's a nice guy, but he's been running for many decades, so he's well familiarized with all the policies. However, I think we need a fresh face that's not beholden to the developers. I don't think development is bad. It's good, but we have to do it the right way. And I'm not afraid to ruffle a few feathers if it has to. The negotiations, we have to make better deals. We just can't roll over and ruin our quality of life. And that's the theme of tonight, is our quality of life. We have to vote for somebody who's gonna maintain or improve our quality of life. Walking around, talking to people in the township, they say, oh, there's a pothole here. Tell them won't do anything about it. They say, oh, we needed this area paved. The last 2 councils have promised to pave it. It's been over 10 years. Nobody's doing anything about it. An important job for the council is to vote on the big issues, but we also have to look at the day-to-day activities of the citizens. You're not going to find a harder working councillor that you can just call up and say, Nick, I'm having this problem. I'm not getting anywhere with the town. Please help me. It's the little things that I can help you with as well, in addition to voting on the big ones. Because everyone's going to say environment good, traffic bad, but we have to look at the day-to-day stuff as well. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Bruce, Jeff, our moderator, and the many volunteers that helped really organize tonight's event. The concerned citizens of King Township, and specifically you, the residents of King, for really participating in your attendance tonight. I want to first personally thank my family, friends, and campaign team for your dedication, hard work, commitment to the residents of King City. Ladies and gentlemen, the last 2 years have been unprecedented and challenging, to say the least, and I'm committed more than ever to bring about positive change to our community here in King City. I believe there's a clear path forward, and there's only one choice, one candidate that has the experience, the passion, the commitment, and the track record to represent the residents of Ward 1. I believe I'm that leader who has a vision and a plan, who can clearly articulate that vision, engage our community, and more importantly, inspire our community. Together, we can make a difference, and on October 24th, I ask for your support. Thank you.
Okay, great evening. Now, before I put it back to Bruce, I got a couple of things I want to say. First, I want to talk about CCKT just for a minute. I know there's a lot of familiar faces in the audience, and some people don't know that we are called Concerned Citizens of King Township. We're very familiar with the term, and I just want to make sure that everybody in the room knows exactly what our name is. We've been around for over 50 years. We put on events like this because we feel that it's our duty and in our interest to provide information and forums for members of our community to make informed decisions about critical assets like our council that makes decisions on our behalf. We do other things too. When we talked about a tree bylaw, we took on our own research group. We took on our own group that worked with council to develop a draft bylaw. And we worked with that for God, it must have been about a year and a half to 2 years it took to get that. It was a very long process. We represented the interests of our community in doing that. We put on special forums. We have a great website that is kept very up to date with great information about what's going on currently and ongoing issues that we deal with, and they are issues that you can comment back and forth on the website. We have an excellent Facebook presence as well. What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't happen by itself. It's members of our community that do it, and it's not for free. We don't charge anything to ourselves, but I would like to ask you to consider, would it be worth $20 for you to take a 1-year membership out to become a member of CCKT if you're not already? Because it helps us, it allows us to put on events like this. It allows us to undertake some of the expenses that it requires. So before you leave, I just wanted to let you know that you can see our most wonderful member, Jill, at the table at the back. So listen, you can pay in cash, you can pay online, you can pay through our website and pay on PayPal. There's a lifetime membership, just in case any of you were so inclined. But I just wanted to leave you with that thought. Just don't walk out of the room and think, okay, that was great that those guys are doing that. It doesn't happen by itself, okay? Now, one other thing I wanted to do, I just wanted to thank a couple of people in the room that never really get a lot of kudos, because events like this get put on, and it's all done by some of our members and our board members that never really get a lot. So our bell ringer, Leanne, who is much more than a bell ringer. She is often very deeply involved in the organization and the day-to-day of the events, as is Kathleen Wellesley, who also gets very deeply involved. As you know, Jill does a lot of work as well, but she always takes on the membership and donation table. And of course, you know, Bruce is our fine chair, who is quite tireless in leading the organization and keeping the whole thing together. By the way, I just want to point out, Jennifer Anstey is also a board member, but has stepped down for the duration of the campaign, and we may miss you. We will miss you if you, when you get elected, maybe if you get elected. But what I want to do is, my last thing is, I want to give really big kudos to Jeff Simpson. Because he's our IT guy. He sets all this up and puts it down, and he doesn't charge us a dime, and he does it effortlessly. And boy, Jeff, you did a great job. I mean, look, you even got Rob working for us here. This event's being recorded. Last night's event's recorded. It's going to be available. Last night's on YouTube. This one will be probably available tomorrow on YouTube. And there will be, you've broken it up into tags so that people can look for specific issues. I mean, come on. He's doing that for buckets. So anyway, we never really get a lot of thanks yet. Okay, thanks folks for coming. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Bruce.
Wow, and I'm first going to say thanks to this big tall guy here. I also was a little remiss earlier. I wanted to mention Nadeem Mahood, who is running as a trustee. I guess you currently are the trustee finishing a term. So Nadeem will be here. He's on the ballot too. So pay attention to the trustees and get to know them. I also, I had a few things I wanted to say, and I just got to remember what they all are here. I don't want to speak long. I wanted, is Tom Butt still here? No. Oh, did Tom have to go? Yeah, anyway, we have another person, Tom, who is also on the board and a real thinker. He challenges us with a lot of things. Really worth talking to Tom.
And Fred.
And Fred, thank you.
Fred, treasurer.
Fred, treasurer. Yes. I guess, and Greg, thank you for just saying a lot of things you did. We really welcome them. I want to speak to the candidates, because this evening's about you. It's about you as the public that are coming. We believe strongly in the process of being able to get to know our candidates. understand their positions, and be able to vote. We really encourage you. Bring somebody with you to the, well, first of all, share information with them, bring them to the polls. I also want to say to all of you as candidates that this, just listening to the meeting, we touched on a lot of topics, some of them very personal, some of them emotional, and you handled this with great grace and poise, all of you, and I commend you for that. I don't think anybody who knows me, but I think I speak for many others here too, is to live in a community, Michael, you talked about that, just a community, is one of respect for one another. We're all, of course, a little bit different, but we're more the same than we are different. And so, I just, commend you that way. I'd love to see all of you involved in whatever the outcome of the election, because you've all got great stuff to contribute to the community. So, we're going to have a meet and greet right now, so hang around. It's a great chance to talk to the candidates directly. And thank you for coming. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.